The thing about betrayal is, you never see it coming until it's already crawled inside your chest and made a nest there. I'm Tom Riley, 39 years old, general manager of Bennigan Steakhouse on 4th Street, and until 3 weeks ago, I thought I had a pretty decent life. Not great, not terrible, just decent. The kind of life where you wake up, kiss your wife goodbye, manage a restaurant full of drama, come home to a cold dinner, and repeat. Marissa and I had been married for 11 years. 11 years of what I thought was partnership, compromise, and the occasional good weekend when we remembered why we'd gotten married in the first place. I should have known something was wrong when the intimacy stopped. Not slowed down, stopped, like someone flipped a switch. 6 months without so much as a kiss that lasted longer than 2 seconds. When I brought it up, Marissa had a rotation of excuses: work stress, her mother's health, hormones, exhaustion. I believed every single one because I was an idiot who wanted to think my marriage wasn't falling apart. The discovery happened on a Tuesday. Tuesdays are my late nights at the restaurant. Inventory, scheduling, dealing with whatever crisis the kitchen staff manufactured that week. I got home around 11, exhausted, smelling like ribeye and disappointment. Marissa was already asleep, or pretending to be. I grabbed a beer from the fridge and noticed her work bag on the kitchen counter, unzipped and spilling papers. I wasn't snooping. Not at first. I was just going to close the damn bag so our cat wouldn't knock it over. That's when I saw it. A small black drawstring pouch, the kind you'd get from an upscale boutique. Curiosity got the better of me. I opened it. Inside was a vibrator. Not just any vibrator, an expensive one, sleek and purple, the kind that probably cost more than my monthly car payment, and next to it, a bottle of premium lubricant. The fancy stuff, organic, probably smelled like lavender and lies. Here's the thing. Marissa and I hadn't used toys in years. She'd always said they made her uncomfortable, that she preferred the real thing. And we sure as hell hadn't been having enough intimacy to need lubricant. I stood there in my kitchen, holding evidence of my wife's secret life, and felt something cold settle in my gut. Not anger. Not yet. Just this crystalline clarity, like someone had finally turned on the lights in a room I'd been stumbling through in the dark. I put everything back exactly as I'd found it. Closed the bag, finished my beer, went to bed next to my wife and stared at the ceiling until dawn. The next morning, I called in sick to work. First time in 3 years. Drew, my buddy who bartends at O'Malley's downtown, met me for coffee at 9. Drew's one of those guys who knows everything about everyone because people tell bartenders things they wouldn't tell their therapists. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. "You look like hell," Drew said, sliding into the booth across from me. "Found intimacy toys in Marissa's bag last night. We haven't been close in 6 months." Drew's face did this complicated thing where sympathy and "I told you so" fought for dominance. "Tom, man, I didn't want to be the one to tell you this, but she's cheating." "Yeah, with her boss, Brian Carter. They've been meeting here every Thursday for the past 4 months. I thought you knew and were just, I don't know, cool with it or something." I laughed. Actually laughed. Cool with it. Jesus, Drew. "You want me to ban them?" "I will. Say the word." No, I want you to keep serving them, and I want you to text me every time they show up." Drew studied me for a long moment. "What are you planning?" "Nothing illegal. Nothing violent. Just fair." That's when the idea started forming. Not revenge, not yet. Just a small experiment, a test to confirm what I already knew. I went to a novelty shop on the edge of town, the kind of place that sells gag gifts and prank supplies. Bought a small container of itching powder, the real stuff, not the fake garbage from party stores, the kind that makes you want to claw your own skin off. That night, while Marissa was in the shower, I took the lubricant bottle from her bag, unscrewed the cap, and mixed in a generous amount of the powder. Stirred it carefully with a toothpick until it was completely dissolved. Put everything back exactly as it was. Then I waited. Thursday came. Drew texted me at 7. "They're here. Usual table in the back." I didn't go to O'Malley's. Didn't need to. I just waited at home, watching mindless TV, drinking beer, imagining what was about to happen. The call came at 10:30. Marissa, her voice tight with panic. "Tom, I'm at the hospital. I had an allergic reaction to something. Can you come get me?" "Which hospital?" "St. Mary's, emergency room. Be there in 20. I took my time, stopped for gas, grabbed a coffee. When I finally walked into the ER, I found Marissa in a curtained-off area, her face blotchy and red, her hands wrapped in gauze. Next to her, looking equally miserable, was Brian Carter, tall, handsome in that corporate way, probably spent more on his haircut than I spent on groceries. "Tom!" Marissa's relief was so genuine it almost made me feel bad. Almost. "Thank God you're here. I don't know what happened. I was at work, going over some reports, and suddenly everything started itching, burning. Brian had the same reaction." "Going over reports," I repeated, letting the words hang there. "At 10 at night, on a Thursday." Brian had the decency to look uncomfortable. Marissa just looked desperate. "The doctors think it might be something we both touched. Shared a pen or something." "Or something," I agreed. "Weird coincidence, you both having the same reaction at the same time." A nurse came in, handed Marissa discharge papers. "You'll need to avoid whatever caused this for at least a week. Keep the area clean and dry. Take the antihistamines as prescribed." "What area?" I asked innocently. The nurse gave me a look that said she knew exactly what had happened, and found it hilarious. "The affected area. Your wife can explain." In the car, Marissa was quiet. I drove carefully, keeping my eyes on the road, fighting the smile that wanted to break across my face. "Tom, I need to tell you something." "Yeah? Brian and we've been working late a lot. There's this big project and—" "Save it, Marissa. I'm tired. Let's just get you home." She didn't push. Probably too uncomfortable, too focused on the burning sensation that I knew was driving her insane. At home, I helped her into bed like the dutiful husband I was, brought her water and pills, tucked her in, kissed her forehead. "Thank you," she whispered. "I'm sorry for being such a burden lately." "Don't worry about it," I said. "I'm sure you'll be back to normal soon, back to working late, going over those reports." I slept on the couch that night, my phone buzzing with a text from Drew. "Heard about the ER visit. You're a genius and a psychopath. Respect." The real show, I thought, was just getting started. Friday morning, I woke up to the sound of Marissa on the phone in the bedroom, her voice low and urgent. I crept closer to the door, listening. "No, Brian, we can't see each other for a while. What if Tom finds out? What if he already knows? I don't know. Maybe we were too careless." "Yes, I'll be careful. I'll talk to you later." I made noise in the kitchen, banging pots around, giving her time to compose herself. When she emerged, she was dressed for work, despite the red patches still visible on her neck. "You sure you should go in today?" I asked. "I have to. Big presentation. The team needs me." "Right, the team." She kissed my cheek on her way out. I waited until her car disappeared down the street, then I got to work. Marissa's laptop was in her home office, password protected. I tried the obvious ones first. Our anniversary, her birthday, her mother's name. Nothing. Then I tried Brian's birthday. I'd looked him up on LinkedIn the night before. Bingo. The emails were worse than I'd imagined. Months of correspondence, going back almost a year. Detailed, explicit, planning their meetings, discussing me like I was an inconvenient piece of furniture they had to work around. "Tom's working late Tuesday. Come over after 8. He's so clueless. I almost feel bad." "Don't. You deserve to be happy. We both do." There were photos, videos, evidence of a relationship that was clearly more than just physical. They were planning a future together. Brian was going to leave his wife. Marissa was going to leave me. They'd already looked at apartments together. I copied everything to a flash drive, every email, every photo, every piece of evidence. Then I dug deeper. Marissa's work email was synced to her laptop. I found something interesting. A private Slack channel called Office Tea with about 15 people from her company. I scrolled through months of messages, and there I was, Tom Riley, the clueless husband, a running joke. Marissa's at it again. Poor Tom. Does he really not know? Or is he just pathetic? I give it 6 months before she leaves him. Brian's already ring shopping. Tom came to the Christmas party last year and Brian hid in the bathroom. LMAO. My hands shook as I read. These people, Marissa's friends, her co-workers, had been laughing at me for months. I was entertainment, a punchline. I took screenshots of everything. Then I noticed something interesting. The Slack channel had a feature where you could export the entire conversation history. I did exactly that. Downloaded it as a PDF, all 300 pages of gossip, cruelty, and betrayal. Then I did something beautiful. I forwarded the entire PDF to the company's all-staff email list, about 200 people. The email came from Marissa's account, with the subject line, Office Tea, everyone should read this. I logged out, closed the laptop, and went to make breakfast. My phone started ringing around 10. Marissa, calling from work. I let it go to voicemail. She called again, and again. On the 4th call, I answered. Tom. Oh my God, Tom. Something terrible happened. Someone hacked my email and sent this horrible file to everyone in the company. It's full of private conversations and... That sounds awful, honey. I'm sure IT will figure out who did it. Tom, there are things in there about us, about our marriage. I need you to understand. I'm at the grocery store. Can we talk about this later? I'm making your favorite dinner tonight. Lasagna. Silence on the other end. Then, okay, we'll talk tonight. I didn't make lasagna. I made reservations at the fanciest restaurant in town and invited Brian's wife, Jennifer Carter. Finding her number was easy. She was listed on Brian's LinkedIn as his emergency contact. I called from a blocked number. Mrs. Carter, you don't know me, but I have information about your husband that I think you should know. Can we meet? Somewhere public? She agreed immediately. No hesitation. She already suspected something. We met at Café Moderne at noon. Jennifer Carter was elegant, put together, the kind of woman who probably ran charity galas and knew how to fold napkins into swans. She sat across from me, her hands wrapped around a coffee cup, her eyes tired. You're Tom Riley, she said. Not a question. How did you know? Brian talks about you, well, about Marissa, and I've seen your picture on her Facebook. So you know. I've known for months. I hired a private investigator. I have photos, hotel receipts, everything. I was just waiting for the right moment to file for divorce. I slid the flash drive across the table. This might help. Emails, messages, photos, everything. She took it, slipped it into her purse. Why are you helping me? Because they made us both look like idiots, and I don't like looking like an idiot. Jennifer smiled, a cold, sharp smile. Brian's having a birthday party next weekend. His company's throwing it. Big event at the Riverside Hotel. You should come, as my +1. I wouldn't miss it for the world. That night, Marissa came home in tears. Her makeup was ruined, her eyes red and swollen. Tom, I've been fired. They said the email leak was my fault, that I'd violated company privacy policies. Brian tried to defend me, but they fired him too. His wife showed up at the office with a lawyer. It was a nightmare. I held her while she cried, stroking her hair, making soothing noises. It's okay, baby. We'll figure this out. You'll find another job. Everything's going to be fine. She looked up at me, her face full of hope and guilt and fear. You're not mad? Mad? Why would I be mad? You didn't do anything wrong. Someone hacked your email. That's not your fault. She buried her face in my chest, sobbing harder. I stared at the wall over her shoulder, planning my next move. The birthday party was in 6 days. That gave me plenty of time to prepare something special. Brian Carter's birthday party was exactly the kind of event you'd expect from a man who drove a BMW and wore Rolex watches. Excessive, showy, and completely devoid of genuine warmth. The Riverside Hotel's ballroom was decorated with black and gold balloons, a champagne fountain, and a slideshow of Brian's greatest moments playing on a massive screen. I arrived with Jennifer Carter on my arm. She looked stunning in a red dress that probably cost more than my monthly mortgage. Every head turned as we walked in. "Ready?" she whispered. "Born ready." Brian spotted us immediately. His face went through several interesting colors, white, red, purple, before settling on a sickly gray. Marissa was there too, standing near the bar, wearing a dress I'd never seen before. Probably bought it for Brian. When she saw me with Jennifer, she nearly dropped her drink. I waved. The party had about 80 guests, Brian's co-workers, friends, family, and a few board members from his company. I'd done my homework. I knew exactly who everyone was. Jennifer and I worked the room, shaking hands, making small talk. I was charming, friendly, the perfect guest. Meanwhile, Jennifer was planting seeds, little comments here and there. "It's so nice of the company to throw this party, especially after everything that happened this week. I'm sure Brian's excited to celebrate, even with the divorce proceedings starting." Around 8, the slideshow started. Brian's childhood photos, college graduation, wedding day, Jennifer looked away, professional achievements, standard stuff. Then my addition started playing. I'd paid a tech-savvy kid from my restaurant $200 to hack into the slideshow presentation and add some extra slides, screenshots of Brian and Marissa's emails, photos of them together, text messages, the Slack channel conversation where they'd mocked me. The room went silent. Someone gasped. Brian lunged for the laptop controlling the presentation, but I'd had the kid lock it remotely. The slides kept coming, each one more damning than the last. "Happy birthday, Brian," I called out, raising my glass. "Hope you enjoy your gift." Brian's face was purple now. He charged at me across the ballroom. I let him come. When he was close enough, I stepped aside, and he crashed into the champagne fountain. Glasses shattered. Champagne went everywhere. His mother screamed. Jennifer was laughing. Actually laughing, tears streaming down her face. Marissa tried to run, but I'd positioned myself between her and the exit. "Leaving so soon? But we haven't even cut the cake yet." "Tom, please, I can explain." "Explain to everyone here. Go ahead. Tell them how you and Brian have been screwing around for a year. Tell them how you were going to leave me. Tell them how you made me a joke in your office." The board members were already leaving, their faces scandalized. Brian's mother was crying. His father was helping him up from the champagne-soaked floor, glass crunching under their feet. "You're insane," Brian spat at me, champagne dripping from his designer suit. "Maybe, but I'm not the one who just lost his job, his wife, and his reputation in front of 80 people. Happy birthday, buddy." I took Jennifer's arm, and we walked out together, leaving chaos behind us. In the parking lot, Jennifer hugged me. "Thank you. That was the most satisfying thing I've ever witnessed." "My pleasure. Literally." "What are you going to do about Marissa?" "Oh, I'm not done yet. Not even close." The next morning, I woke up to find Marissa's stuff gone from our house. She'd left a note. "I can't do this anymore. I'm staying with my mother. We need to talk about divorce." Perfect. That's exactly what I wanted. I spent the next week executing phase 3 of my plan. See, while I'd been digging through Marissa's emails, I'd found something interesting. Evidence that Brian and Marissa had been planning to screw me out of my share of a property investment we'd made together 5 years ago. They'd forged documents, created fake appraisals, and were planning to sell the property and pocket my half. That was fraud. Actual, prosecutable fraud. I took everything to a lawyer, a good one, the kind who smells weakness and gets excited. We filed criminal charges against both Brian and Marissa, along with a civil suit for damages. The police came to Marissa's mother's house on a Tuesday morning. They arrested her in her bathrobe. The local news covered it because Brian was semi-famous in our town, and the story was too juicy to ignore. Local couple arrested in property fraud scheme. I watched the news coverage from my living room, eating popcorn, feeling absolutely nothing. Drew came over that night with beer and takeout. Man, you're either a genius or completely crazy. Why not both? Fair point. So what now? Now I wait for the trial, collect my settlement, and move on with my life. You don't feel bad at all? Even a little? I thought about it. Really thought about it. No. They made their choices. They could have just left me, filed for divorce, been honest. Instead, they tried to humiliate me, steal from me, and laugh about it with their friends. So, no, I don't feel bad. Remind me never to piss you off. Too late. You still owe me $20 from poker last month. He laughed, but I saw the unease in his eyes. I didn't care. I'd learned that sometimes the best way to deal with people who treat you like garbage is to show them exactly what garbage smells like. The trial took place 4 months later. Marissa and Brian sat together, presenting a united front. Marissa had lost weight, looked tired. Brian had aged, his suit hanging looser than before. The prosecution laid out the case, forged documents, fake appraisals, a paper trail of their scheme to defraud me. My lawyer had done his homework. Every email, every lie was presented to the jury. Marissa's lawyer argued she was manipulated by Brian. Brian's lawyer claimed it was all a misunderstanding. The jury didn't buy it. Guilty on all counts. The judge sentenced them both to 18 months in prison, 3 years of probation, and required restitution. It was over. Outside the courtroom, Marissa tried to approach me. Tom, please, I'm sorry. Can we just talk? I looked at her, felt nothing. No. You made your choices. Live with them. I walked away. 6 weeks later, the settlement came through. $75,000 plus $50,000 in damages. I paid off my mortgage and invested the rest. I was free. Drew threw me a party at O'Malley's. The whole neighborhood showed up. Speech, someone called. I stood up, beer in hand. You can't control what people do to you, but you can control how you respond. Sometimes, the best response is to let them destroy themselves while you watch from a safe distance. Everyone cheered. I sat down, and Drew slapped me on the shoulder. You're a cold bastard, Tom Riley. Yeah, but I'm a free cold bastard. Marissa and Brian served their sentences. I heard Brian's wife took everything in the divorce. Marissa moved away after her release and started over. I didn't care. They were ghosts to me. A year later, I met Claire at a charity event. Smart, funny, no patience for bullshit. So, she said on our third date, I've heard the stories about you, the revenge guy. And? Anyone who crosses you is an idiot. But I think you're probably done with revenge, right? Yeah, I think I am. She smiled. Good. Because I'm not interested in being anyone's rebound or revenge plot. Me too. Life moved on. I got promoted to regional manager. Claire and I moved in together. We got a dog named Charlie. Sometimes, late at night, I thought about Marissa and Brian, wondered if they regretted their choices. Then I'd roll over, put my arm around Claire, and fall asleep. The past was the past. I'd gotten my revenge, gotten my life back. But life throws curveballs. 2 years after the trial, I was at the grocery store when I heard a familiar voice. Tom. I turned. Marissa stood there, thinner, her clothes cheaper, but her eyes were the same. Marissa, what are you doing here? I moved back, got a job at the community college, renting a place on Elm Street. Good for you. We stood in silence. I've wanted to talk to you for so long, she said. To apologize. To explain. There's nothing to explain. It's done. We're done. I know. I know we are. But I need you to understand that I'm sorry. Truly sorry. What I did was unforgivable, and I've spent every day since then regretting it. I lost everything. My job, my mother, my freedom, you. And I deserved all of it. I looked at her, this woman who'd once been my whole world, and felt a small crack in the wall I'd built around that part of my heart. Okay, I said. I believe you're sorry, but that doesn't change anything. You made your choices, I made mine. We both have to live with them. Are you happy? Now I mean? Yeah, I am. I'm with someone new, someone good, someone honest. She nodded, tears welling up in her eyes. I'm glad. You deserve that. So do you, Marissa. I hope you find it. I walked away, leaving her standing there in the dairy aisle. It was the closure I didn't know I needed. That night I told Claire about the encounter. She listened, her hand in mine, not judging, just being there. How do you feel? She asked. Lighter. Like I finally put down something heavy I'd been carrying. Good. That's good. Life continued. Marissa and I would occasionally see each other around town, at the grocery store, at the gas station, once at a restaurant where she was dining alone and I was with Claire. We'd nod, acknowledge each other, and move on. No drama, no confrontations, just two people who used to know each other, living separate lives. Then, 3 years after that grocery store encounter, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. Mr. Riley, this is Detective Sarah Martinez with the county police. I'm calling about Brian Carter. My stomach dropped. What about him? He was found unresponsive this morning. Apparent suicide. We're investigating, and your name came up in some of his personal belongings. Can you come down to the station to answer a few questions? I went. Claire came with me. At the station, Detective Martinez, a sharp-eyed woman in her 40s, led me to an interview room. You're not a suspect, she said immediately. We just need to understand Brian Carter's state of mind. According to his journal, he blamed you for everything that happened to him. His journal? She showed me photocopies, pages and pages of Brian's handwriting, ranting about me, about how I'd destroyed his life, about how he'd lost everything because of my vindictive revenge. He never took responsibility, I said, reading. Not once. It was always someone else's fault. That's what we're seeing. His ex-wife said he'd been calling her, harassing her, blaming her for the divorce. His co-workers said he was difficult, paranoid. He'd lost 3 jobs in the past 2 years. And he took his own life. Overdose, intentional, based on the note he left. He blamed you, his ex-wife, his former employer, everyone but himself. I sat back, processing. I'm sorry he's gone. I really am. But I didn't make him do what he did, either the fraud or the suicide. Those were his choices. I agree. We just needed to hear your side. You're free to go. Outside the station, Claire hugged me tight. You okay? Yeah, it's just... I spent so much time being angry at him, getting revenge, making sure he paid for what he did. And now he's gone. And I don't feel anything. Not satisfaction, not guilt, just nothing. Maybe that's okay. Maybe that means you really have moved on. She was right. I had moved on. Brian's passing was a tragedy. For him. For his family. But it wasn't my tragedy. It wasn't my responsibility. I went home, hugged my dog, kissed my girlfriend, and made dinner. Life went on. 5 years after Brian's passing, Claire and I got married. A small ceremony, just close friends and family. Drew was my best man. He gave a speech about how I'd gone from a guy who got betrayed to a guy who found true happiness, and everyone cried, including me. Marissa sent a card. Just a simple congratulations, no return address. I appreciated the gesture. I never saw her again after that. I heard she'd moved to Oregon, started over completely. I hoped she found peace. I really did. As for me, I was happy. Genuinely, deeply happy. I had a wife I loved, a job I enjoyed, friends who had my back, and a life that felt full and real. The revenge I'd taken on Marissa and Brian had been satisfying at the time, but it wasn't what made me happy. What made me happy was building something new, something better, with someone who actually deserved my trust. One night, Claire and I were sitting on our porch, watching the sunset, Charlie snoring at our feet. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked. "What you did to them?" I thought about it. No, they earned every bit of what they got. But I also don't think about it much anymore. It's like it happened to a different version of me. I'm not that angry guy anymore. Good, because I like this version of you much better. Me too. We sat there in comfortable silence, watching the sky turn from orange to purple to dark blue. The past was behind me. The future was ahead, and for the first time in a long time, I was exactly where I wanted to be. Revenge had given me justice, but forgiveness of myself, of the situation, had given me peace, and peace, I'd learned, was worth more than any revenge could ever be. 3 days after I discovered the intimacy toys in Marissa's bag, I decided I needed more information. The itching powder prank had been satisfying, but it was just the opening move. I needed to understand the full scope of what I was dealing with, how long this had been going on, who knew about it, and most importantly, what they were planning. I called in another favor from Drew. His girlfriend Rachel worked in IT consulting and owed me for helping her brother get a job at the restaurant. For $300 and a promise of discretion, she agreed to help me access Marissa's cloud storage. "I'm not saying this is legal," Rachel said, meeting me at a coffee shop across town. "But technically, if you're still married and she's using a family account, you have some rights to access shared data." "Technically, legal is still legal," I said. She handed me a flash drive. Everything from her phone backups for the past year, photos, texts, app data. I even pulled her location history. I plugged it into my laptop right there in the coffee shop. The location history was damning. Dozens of trips to the Riverside Hotel, Brian's address, and several restaurants I'd never been to with her. The photos were worse. Not just intimate photos of her and Brian, but screenshots of conversations with her friends, planning their meetings, laughing about me. One text thread with her friend Jenna set me on fire. "Jenna, how's the double life going?" Marissa, "Exhausting but worth it. Tom's so clueless. He actually thanked me for working late last night. LOL. Jenna, "When are you going to leave him?" Marissa, "Soon. Brian's getting his ducks in a row. We're looking at apartments. Just need to figure out the money situation." Jenna, "The money situation?" Marissa, "Tom and I have that investment property. It's worth about $150K now. I need to figure out how to get my share without him knowing what it's really worth." Jenna, "Damn, girl, heartless. I love it." There it was. They weren't just planning to leave me. They were planning to rob me. I spent the next week documenting everything. I created a timeline, printed emails, organized photos. I felt like a detective building a case, because that's exactly what I was doing. On Thursday night, I followed them. I know how that sounds. Pathetic, desperate, but I needed to see it with my own eyes. I parked down the street from O'Malley's and watched them arrive separately, then meet at their usual table in the back. Through the window, I could see them laughing, touching hands across the table, living their secret life. Drew texted me. "You okay out there, man?" "Yeah, just watching the show." "You want me to spit in his drink?" "No, just keep track of how much they're spending. I want to know if he's paying with a company card." 20 minutes later, "Company Amex, $73 so far." Perfect. More evidence. They left the bar around 10 and drove to the Riverside Hotel. I didn't follow them inside. I didn't need to. I knew what was happening. Instead, I went home, poured myself a bourbon, and finalized my plan. The next morning, I called a lawyer. Not just any lawyer, Catherine Morrison, known around town as the Shark, because she never lost and never showed mercy. Her consultation fee was $500 for an hour, worth every penny. "Mr. Riley," she said, gesturing to the chair across from her massive desk, "what can I do for you?" I laid out everything. The affair, the planned fraud, the evidence I'd gathered. She listened without interrupting, occasionally making notes on a legal pad. When I finished, she leaned back in her chair and smiled. "This is the most organized case I've seen in years. You've done my job for me." "So we can prosecute?" "Absolutely. This is textbook fraud. Forging documents, creating false appraisals, conspiracy to defraud. They're looking at felony charges if we pursue this criminally. And civilly, you'll get your money back plus damages. How long will it take? Depends on how fast we move. If you want to do this right, we need to get ahead of them. File first. Control the narrative. I can have papers ready by Monday. Do it." I wrote her a check for a $10,000 retainer. She promised to earn every penny. That weekend, I did something I'd been putting off. I went through our entire house and documented every asset. I photographed our furniture, our electronics, our art. I made a list of everything I'd paid for versus what Marissa had paid for. I pulled bank statements going back 5 years. I was methodical, thorough, and absolutely determined. On Sunday night, Marissa came home from visiting her mother. Another lie. Her mother was in Florida, and Marissa had been at Brian's house based on her location data. She seemed nervous, jumpy. "Everything okay?" I asked, all innocent concern. "Yeah, just tired. Work has been crazy." "I bet. Hey, I was thinking, we should probably sit down and talk about our finances. That investment property specifically. I think we should get it appraised, maybe think about selling." Her face went pale. "Why? I thought we were holding on to it. I just think the market's good right now. We could make a nice profit, pay down some debt. Let's talk about it later. I'm exhausted." She went to bed early. I stayed up, adding notes to my case file. Monday morning, Catherine filed the papers. By noon, Marissa and Brian had both been served, at work, in front of their colleagues. Catherine had insisted on that detail. "Maximum impact," she'd said. "We want them scared and scrambling." Marissa called me, hysterical. "Tom, what is this? Why are you suing me? And Brian? What's happening?" "You tried to steal from me, Marissa. Did you think I wouldn't find out?" "I don't know what you're talking about." "The investment property, the forged appraisal, the plan to sell it and keep my share. I have all the emails, all the texts, everything." Silence. Then quietly, "How long have you known?" "About the affair? Couple weeks? About the fraud? Long enough?" "Tom, please, we can work this out. We don't need lawyers." "Yes, we do. See you in court." I hung up. My hands were shaking, but I felt good. Powerful. In control for the first time in months. The next few weeks were chaos. Marissa moved out, staying with her mother who'd flown back from Florida. Brian's wife filed for divorce. Jennifer and I had stayed in touch, coordinating our efforts. The company where Marissa and Brian worked launched an internal investigation after my email stunt, and both of them were suspended pending review. Everything was falling apart for them, exactly as I'd planned. But I wasn't done. Not yet. The preliminary hearing for the fraud case was scheduled for a Tuesday in November. The courtroom was packed, not just with lawyers and court staff, but with reporters. Someone had tipped off the local news that this was going to be a juicy case, and they were right. I sat at the plaintiff's table with Catherine. Across the aisle, Marissa and Brian sat with their respective lawyers, looking miserable. Marissa wouldn't look at me. Brian glared. The judge, a stern man in his 60s named Judge Patterson, reviewed the case file and frowned. "This is quite a mess you've all created. Let's hear opening statements." Catherine stood, commanding the room. "Your Honor, this is a straightforward case of fraud and conspiracy. The defendants engaged in a calculated scheme to defraud my client of his rightful share of a jointly owned property. We have documentary evidence, electronic communications, and expert testimony that will prove beyond any doubt that the defendants knowingly and willfully committed multiple felonies. Brian's lawyer, a young guy who looked fresh out of law school, stammered through his response. "Your Honor, my client maintains that this is all a misunderstanding. The documents in question were prepared by a third party, and any irregularities were not—" "Save it for trial," Judge Patterson interrupted. "I've reviewed the evidence submitted by the plaintiff, and frankly, it's compelling. I'm going to allow this case to proceed to trial. Discovery begins immediately. Next court date is January 15th. Marissa started crying. Brian put his head in his hands. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed us. Catherine had coached me on what to say. I'm simply seeking justice for the wrongs committed against me. I trusted these people, and they betrayed that trust in the worst possible way. The local news ran the story that night. Local man sues cheating wife and her lover for fraud. My face was on TV. So were Marissa's and Brian's. The news anchor called it a cautionary tale about infidelity and greed. My phone exploded with messages. Friends I hadn't heard from in years, distant relatives, even some of my restaurant staff. Everyone wanted to know the details, wanted to offer support, wanted to be part of the drama. Drew texted, "Dude, you're famous. Also, drinks are on me tonight. You've earned it." I met him at O'Malley's. The place was more crowded than usual, and I realized people were there to see me. The guy from the news, the revenge husband. I felt like a celebrity, which was weird and uncomfortable and kind of amazing. "So what's next?" Drew asked, sliding a beer across the bar. "Trial in January. Catherine thinks we'll win easily. After that, I don't know. Divorce, I guess. Move on with my life." "You seem different, lighter." "I feel different. Like I've been carrying around this weight, and I'm finally putting it down." A woman approached the bar, mid-30s, attractive, confident. "You're Tom Riley, right? From the news?" "That's me. I just wanted to say, good for you. My ex did something similar, and I wish I'd had the guts to fight back like you did. You're an inspiration." She walked away before I could respond. Drew grinned. "An inspiration, hear that? Shut up." But I was smiling. The next few weeks were a blur of depositions, document reviews, and strategy sessions with Catherine. She was ruthless, finding every inconsistency in Marissa's and Brian's stories, every piece of evidence that supported our case. "They're going to offer a settlement," she predicted. "Probably right before trial. They don't want this to go public any more than it already has." She was right. 2 weeks before the trial date, Brian's lawyer called with an offer. They'd pay the full $75,000 I was owed, plus $50,000 in damages, if I agreed to drop the criminal charges and sign an NDA. "What do you think?" I asked Catherine. "I think we can get more if we go to trial, but trials are risky, juries are unpredictable. This is a guaranteed win." "What about the criminal charges?" "That's up to the DA, not you. But without your cooperation, they'll probably drop it." I thought about it for a long time. Part of me wanted to see Marissa and Brian in prison, wanted them to suffer the way they'd made me suffer. But another part of me just wanted to be done with it, to take the money and move on. "Counteroffer," I said. $150 total, no NDA, and they both have to issue public apologies. Catherine grinned. "I like the way you think." The negotiations took another week, but eventually they agreed. $150,000 split between restitution and damages and public apologies to be posted on their social media accounts. The apologies went up on a Friday. Marissa's was brief and generic. "I deeply regret my actions and the pain I've caused. I take full responsibility and am working to make amends." Brian's was even shorter. "I made serious mistakes and am facing the consequences. I apologize to everyone I've hurt." The comments sections were brutal. People I didn't know tore into them, called them every name in the book, shared the posts thousands of times. It was the public humiliation I'd wanted, amplified by the internet's endless appetite for schadenfreude. I felt satisfied. Not happy exactly, but satisfied. Justice had been served. The money hit my account the following Monday. $150,000, more money than I'd ever had at once. I paid off my mortgage, paid Catherine's final bill, and put the rest in investments. For the first time in my adult life, I was completely debt-free and financially secure. Marissa and I finalized our divorce in February. It was quick and painless. We had a prenup, no kids, and after everything that had happened, she didn't fight me on anything. She just wanted it over. The last time I saw her was at the final divorce hearing. She looked small, defeated, nothing like the confident woman I'd married. Part of me felt bad for her. Most of me didn't. "I really am sorry, Tom," she said in the courthouse hallway. "For everything." "I know, but sorry doesn't fix it." "I know that too. I hope you find happiness. Real happiness. You deserve it. So do you, Marissa. Someday." We shook hands, formal, final, and went our separate ways. I walked out of that courthouse a free man, and the sun had never felt brighter. Spring came, and with it, a sense of renewal. I threw myself into work, taking on extra shifts at the restaurant, mentoring new staff, implementing changes I'd been thinking about for years. The owner noticed and promoted me to regional manager, overseeing 3 locations. The raise was substantial. Combined with my settlement money, I was more financially comfortable than I'd ever been. Drew convinced me to start dating again. "You're free, you're successful, and you've got a great revenge story. Women love that." Women love revenge stories? They love justice stories. There's a difference. He was right. I signed up for a dating app, went on a few dates. Most were forgettable, nice enough people, but no spark. Then I met Claire. She was a 3rd-grade teacher, 34, with red hair and freckles and a laugh that made everyone around her smile. Our first date was coffee, which turned into lunch, which turned into a walk through the park, which turned into dinner. We talked for 8 hours straight. "So," she said over dessert, "tell me about your ex-wife." I gave her the abbreviated version: the affair, the fraud, the revenge, the divorce. She listened carefully, then said, "That must have been incredibly painful." It was, but it also taught me a lot about who I am and what I'm capable of. "Are you over it? Really over it?" "Yeah, I think I am. I'm not angry anymore. I'm just ready for something new." She smiled. "Good, because I don't do drama or baggage or revenge plots. I just want something real and honest." "Me too." We dated for 6 months before she met my friends. Drew approved immediately. "She's good for you, man. You seem happy. Actually happy, not just, I got revenge happy." He was right. Claire made me laugh. She challenged me. She was kind and smart and had 0 tolerance for bullshit. She was everything Marissa hadn't been. A year after our first date, I asked her to move in with me. She said yes. We adopted Charlie, the golden retriever, from a local shelter. Life felt full and good and normal in the best possible way. I rarely thought about Marissa or Brian anymore. They were part of my past, and I was firmly focused on my future. Then, 2 years into my relationship with Claire, I got the call about Brian's suicide. The detective's questions were routine, but they stirred up old feelings I thought I'd buried. Guilt, mostly. Not because I'd done anything wrong, but because a man was gone, and I'd played a part in his downfall. "You can't think like that," Claire said that night, holding me on our couch. "He made his choices, all of them. The affair, the fraud, the suicide. None of that was your fault." "I know. Intellectually, I know that. But emotionally, you're a good person who feels bad when people suffer, even people who hurt you. That's what makes you different from them." She was right. Brian's passing was a tragedy, but it wasn't my responsibility. He'd had options: therapy, rehab, rebuilding his life. He'd chosen a permanent escape from temporary problems. I went to his funeral. Not to gloat, not to make a scene, just to pay my respects. His family was there, his parents, his sister, his ex-wife, Jennifer. She saw me and nodded. We didn't speak. Marissa wasn't there. I wondered if she even knew he was gone. After the funeral, I went home to Claire and Charlie and the life I'd built. I cooked dinner, we watched a movie, we went to bed. Normal, boring, beautiful life. That's when I realized I'd won. Not because I'd gotten revenge, not because they'd suffered, but because I'd moved on. I'd built something new and good and real. I was happy. And happiness, I'd learned, was the best revenge of all.